un poco de la historia de esa persona y bueno, después reflexiones que nos pueden servir a otros músicos que también estamos haciéndonos nuestro camino. Y bueno, hoy tenemos una entrevista bastante especial, va a ser la primera en inglés internacional. El invitado vive en Maldonado, pero viene de Estados Unidos y bueno, su nombre es Charles Peck. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
It's an honor.
Appreciate it.
It's an honor. Así que bueno, voy a continuar en inglés y bueno, voy a arrancar con la primera pregunta. How you get started with music?
Well, my grandfather was a cellist, and my dad played piano. And when I was a young boy, my parents bought me a guitar when I was 5 years old, and of course I didn't know how to play it. But just being around it, I eventually learned more and more how to play it. And as I got older, I still always had a guitar, but I gravitated towards bass. But that's how I got started. It was just a gift for Christmas, I believe.
Nice.
And learned how to play, one chord notes and things like that in school, and then just went from there.
Nice.
Just a basic start.
And what are you up now?
Right now, currently, I am running a sound studio in my home in La Barra. Excuse me. And I'm doing sound therapy.
Nice.
In that studio. And I'm also playing music in a band called Metaverso that plays at a place called the Portal Bosque.
Nice, nice. Something that is coming?
Something that is
Coming
soon? Yes. On the 25th of September, which is just a few days from now, Andres Rott, the amazing bass player, is going to be having an event at the Portal. And it's commencing on the 30th with an open jam that's open to the public. And his band will be playing, and it's very worth seeing. The guy's incredible. And then the house band will play after that with a lot of other guests that are welcome to play.
Nice. Well, usually we switch into some reflection or suggestion for another musician right now, but I want to ask you a first question because you are from United States and we are pretty much everybody is from Uruguay. We want to know what are the difference that you see in the music market doing a versus between United States and here in Uruguay, working as a musician?
Well, the first thing that I ever was exposed to here was about 12 years ago. I went to Moby Dick down the street, and I helped a guy bring his bass cabinet into the stage because it was really heavy and big. Mm-hmm. And I got to know this guy, and I think you might know him too. His name is Rafa Pucciano.
Okay.
He's a great bass player. And he spoke English, so I immediately
nice.
had a conversation with him. But when I saw his band, and then when I saw Moji's band the next day, because I went back the next day, I was hungry for music. I was so impressed with the quality of the musicians here in Uruguay. And to this day, I am amazed at how great and well-trained the musicians from here and from Argentina are.
Nice.
And as compared to the United States,
okay.
There's not a lot of paid shows there. So just about anyone can get on a stage and play music, and sometimes they're not so hot. So overall, the quality of the average musician here is phenomenal compared to the U.S. There's a lot of great, excellent players in the U.S., don't get me wrong. But around here, no, you usually will never see anyone on a stage that isn't very good.
Nice, nice. Well, let's just continue with the question that we ask all the guests, and then go back to that because there is a lot to cover in there. Uh, Please tell us about a highlight moment in your music career.
Well, I think the most fun that I ever had was recording in nicer recording studios. So there's a man, his name is Cameron Webb, and he runs and operates a recording studio in Santa Ana, California. And he recorded everything that Motorhead ever did, and he's also won a Grammy for some of the work that he's done for other artists. I'm trying to remember exactly who it was at the moment, and I can't. But he does phenomenal work, and he is a producer as well as a recorder, mixer, and masterer. And being a part of that scenario was a phenomenal, inspiration for me to keep going with recording and wanting to get better playing and things like that. And those types of things, and also playing at some fun places over the years, like the Whiskey in Hollywood, and some of the other places, the Troubadour, and what's the name of that place? You can tell white. You see white hair, and then you start forgetting things. There's a place that's very similar to the Box Garden.
Okay.
That's in Orange County, and it's called the Coach House.
Oh.
And it's actually a giant house.
Nice.
So the headlining person will literally stay in the master bedroom, and then they have all the other rooms for the other bands to stay in. But that was a highlight, too, getting to play there several times. That's it. I love to play here at the Box Garden, too. It's a phenomenal location to play.
Nice.
I really like it.
Oh, nice. Okay, let's do a switch. The other things we like to ask the guests is about some moment that you think that help you be in music, and maybe in the opposite, some decision that you think if you go back some years you will do different in terms of music.
Well, mainly when I was first playing in bands, I had lots of people that I had really admired. And I had a mentor of sorts. His name was Roger Wood, great bass player. And I used to watch him and try to figure out how he was doing these things. And he gave me advice. He said, "Where's your bass?" One time when he came over to my house, I said, "Oh, it's in the case, it's in the closet." He said, "Here's my advice to you. Never put it in the case again. Get a stand, put it next to where you sit most of the time, and even if you pick it up for 5 minutes a day, if you add that up at the end of the year, you'll be 5 times better than you are right now." And it's just familiarity with the instrument. That was a simple but major turning point. And then I had some other friends I used to hang out with and party with, and I used to go watch their band all the time. And the bass player of that band, he got transferred at his job, and I got an opportunity to play with this band, and that was a huge thing for me because they were very talented. And then I, for the first time, got to start playing regularly in the late 80s with a band that was playing live and playing shows all the time. So that was really fun.
Nice. And the opposite, let's say, some thing that you think was holding you back in that time, or something that you will change if you go back in time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was a bit of an introvert when I was younger, and I probably would have studied music and learned how to play piano, learned how to sing better, and take taken music courses to learn how to read, and been more involved in that type of music as well. Learned jazz and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I thoroughly enjoy those types of things now,
Mm-hmm.
playing with people that are a lot younger than myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like on this coming Friday at El Arco Taku Bay in Maldonado,
Mm-hmm.
the open jam on the 13th. There's some phenomenal musicians every month there. And I learn something new every day, like I'm a student, you know. But I would have paid more attention and studied more, for
Mhm.
sure.
Nice, nice. Well, there is the thing. I'm not sure if happens. I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen in the United States, but here in Uruguay we have this thing that we think that there was this golden time of music in which a lot of bands were born, and now that is like dying or not happening as often. Uh, what do you think about this? How we can go back to the golden era or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, electronic music and auto tune and all these different things that
I
are
want to
around
go
now.
there too.
You know, if you're in a band and you're a guitar player, bass player, drummer, keyboardist, you know, horn player, the camaraderie of the people getting together and playing, there's nothing like it. So, in my opinion, I think this electronic music will eventually wear itself out, just like every other generational type of music has. And maybe not fully, I mean, it's not going to go away, but I think musicians, especially in a country like this where people really study their craft, will start forming new alliances again.
Mm-hmm.
And because there's nothing like live performances. You know, sitting in front of a mixer pressing buttons is really cool and the kids jump up and down, but for me, I think for the musicians and for the venues who support them, I think it's something that they all should work together to do. You know, promoting it more. Go see live music. Support live music, you know. I think as if you're not playing, you know, support live music if you believe in it. And for people in various different bands, support each other. You know, there's no reason to be jealous of somebody else. Everybody's just trying to pull this thing together and move in the same direction like you're talking about.
Do you see any difference in the States compared to Uruguay in that sense?
I see more trained musicians here. So I see people that are a lot more serious, and it's a good thing. It's very refreshing. You know, if the youngest generation,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, is into it too, if they're encouraged more to play, like that's what I love about this place. They always encourage the young people to come out and join in, like on Tuesdays. I think it's an awesome thing to see. I love to see like the 21-year-old or the 17-year-old guitarist go out there and play.
I believe there
It's-
is a drummer that is 12 too.
Yeah, I mean it's incredible, and that's where it starts. Inspirational, getting them out there, and when they're not afraid and they're not shy, and then they never will be after they do that a couple of times. But I think encouragement. But I think music is still part of the school curriculum here, and in the United States, it's fading away. A lot of places they don't even have music in school anymore. I mean, I went to school in the 70s and 80s when I was in grade school and high school, and music was still a very big part of the curriculum, and now they've eliminated it. And I can't see how, in my personal opinion, why it isn't important. I think it's a great thing for people. It expands your mind, it makes you think, it changes your emotions, it does all those things. So I think it's good and it's great in this country because it's still being promoted like that.
Nice. I want you to dig a little bit more in what you said about autotune and quite quantizing music and everything like that. Uh, I made this question a few times with another guest, and some think that this is something that could be used in favor. Some say that's something that is killing music. What is your opinion? Where are you between those two poles?
I think I think it's a very useful tool,
Mm-hmm.
definitely, but being kind of an old school recording type of a person, I think it's more of a tool than it is necessarily an effect that you should sing an entire concert using. Because I recently went to a concert here
Mm-hmm.
in Montevideo, and it was half rock concert and half everything else, basically. And a few of the acts, they'd just sing 100% through that stuff, and it would be nice to hear their actual voice. When you have two people harmonizing with each other with auto tone on, it's like, interesting. But
I get it.
I think it's a good tool, and it's definitely a great innovation, and it could fix a lot of issues. But to use it exclusively is not my personal liking, you know. So I'm not. I'm neutral. I love technology and what it can do and help with,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no doubt there's amazing AI technology things for music now that I'm using myself. But I'd love to hear the people sing. I'd love to hear the people play real instruments more, because that's, to me, where the entertainment comes from.
Nice. Tell us a little bit about, because you are working as a bass player here, but you do mixing and mastering too. So tell us a little bit about that.
So way back in the old days, in the days of reel-to-reel tape recorders, it was a daunting task to try to, remix something. It would almost be easier just to re-record it from the beginning. Obviously, it would be easier. So now, with today's digital age and all of the programs that you have at your disposal, I've put together, many of these tools over many years, like a lot of people have. But I feel I have an interesting perspective of, my ear. It's something that I think people are born with when they do these types of things. But I'm doing mixing and mastering. I'm also doing audio restorations. So if somebody has an old song that they want to bring back to life, now I have tools where I can take the song, separate it into tracks, do some work on the individual instruments, and put it back together in a different way. And that's been working out very well. So
Nice.
I love doing it. It's my favorite thing to do other than playing music, as far as, work goes. And the tools we have now are just phenomenal. I love it.
Nice. The other job that you have is using sound as a therapy, as some to cure some things. Tell us a little bit about that. How does work? How music can help, or sounds can help healing a person?
If you ever saw the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? That came out several years ago. It's a movie that talks about how water is affected by sound.
Okay.
And your body, if you count all the water in your body and every individual cell, your body's like over 85% water. So this is a little bit on the woo-woo side for some of the people out there. But what I believe is that water can be influenced by sound. And if you look at what certain sound frequencies can do to water and the picture that it turns into, you will notice that it's the same diagram picture that other things in nature are, like flowers and cacti and different things in nature. And there's a lot of research going on now that will show how effective it is, especially for things like anxiety and certain sound frequencies can calm people way down. And you know that from playing music. Like different songs can change somebody's mood, but very specific sound frequencies are really good for certain parts of the body. And the ancient Indian people knew this. And in fact, some of the diagrams of the chakras, the different energy points of your body, are actual pictures of water frequencies. They align perfectly. So it's pretty amazing. This is like a rediscovery of sorts, where spiritualism and science is coming together on this, and more people are receiving great benefits from this. So what I do, you've probably seen a lot of people with the sound bowls and different things like that. I have created something more of a meditation audio that's very powerful and uses sound frequencies and the derivatives of those frequencies, the thirds and fifths and octaves, and some of the sounds are enough to go right through your body. So I have a sound studio at my house in La Barra where people can sit and enjoy these sounds and have a little visual to watch at the same time.
If someone is watching and wants to contact you about that, how can reach you?
I'll have to give you my information. Maybe we could attach it to the bottom of this video.
Okay.
So I'm working on a website, but it is at Soul, SOL Studios in La Barra. It will soon be a website and a destination. And if you're familiar with Canoa Quebrada on Route 10, they're my next door neighbors. So soon I'll have the doors open and I'll be taking appointments and starting a waiting list right now, actually.
Nice. Well, let's go back to a more traditional way of music. Let's go to bass. I want to discuss bass. How you picture bass in a band? Meaning how it sits between the drums, the guitar, the group.
Most of the bands that I've been in my life have been three-piece bands that I spent more time with than anything else. So bass is the bridge. It's the gap. It's the connection between the drums and the guitar. And in a three-piece band, especially more progressive type music, sometimes the bass player is the rhythm guitar player in a lot of ways. So depending on how talented somebody is, definitely filling a lot of space that in a four-piece band you might not necessarily want or need. So one of the great examples that I always love to talk about is some of the bands like Cream, amazing three-piece band, and for many reasons. And there's a bass player in California by the name of Mike Watt, like Charlie Watt, but Mike Watt, not related. He's been around for decades, 50 years playing bass, and he's one of the greats out there. And he's a perfect example of that. Mainly three-piece bands his whole career. But for me, I gravitated towards it because I just love that connection between the two. It's like my best friend growing up was a drummer, of course. And we had that interconnection between the two instruments where after a while, after many years, sometimes we just go to our rehearsal spot with no agenda, with no songs, and with the guitar player and just start playing and creating. And when one person would go in one direction, the band would follow. It didn't matter. Nobody was able to fool anybody anymore because we knew each other too well.
Yeah.
But bass has always been, my favorite because of the combination and the correlation between all the instruments. It's kind of right in the middle for me.
Mhm. I want to make a small question in there. You said that it's very different when the band is only three persons. What changed if there is another guitar player or another instrument with the bass?
The mid-range and the high range of the stringed instruments changes if you have two guitar players or two guitar players and a keyboard player, because then the bass player really doesn't have to concentrate on filling those gaps. Like, here's a perfect example. In a three-piece band, when the guitar player goes into a lead, there's no rhythm happening in the song anymore, so the bass player really has to fill in that gap. The bass player wouldn't, in turn, go into a lead in that part of the song or start, playing fancy riffs. They'd want to hold it together so the song would flow perfectly. With two guitarists, if one of them is playing a rhythm while the other one's playing a lead, or if they're playing, two different things of a rhythm, then the bass player can get fancy in those parts, but also stick with the drummer more to keep the beat more cohesive, so to speak. I just think, in my opinion, they're both great for different reasons, but a three-piece band is much more demanding on a bass player than a four-piece band with two guitars is.
Nice. You have that background in sound engineer, plus you are a bass player. Do you think that background helped you with being a bass player?
I would say, yeah, for sure, because you're constantly trying to match patterns when you're doing sound editing, making sure everything is perfectly aligned with, when you're remixing tracks and things like that. So it makes you think. You get to hear yourself many times over if you do work on your own music. So it does make you better because you'll hear things that you didn't necessarily pay attention to when you're playing live. And it'll stick in your brain, and you'll be able to do something differently or better just from reviewing it. It's like reading, something and comprehending it after you read it a few times. It makes more sense. And I think that's the same with rehearsing and playing any instrument.
And what about playing live, or, for example, rehearsals, or you are? It is like you are listening from on one side of a bass player and another side, looking. Okay, this is what it needs to be changed in order to make more exciting the guitar, the drums, or something like that.
Yeah, I think if you're in a band that's rehearsing regularly, it's always good to make some type of recording, even if it's just on your phone, because when you listen back to it, you'll get ideas and you'll make improvements, and that's really what it's all about. I mean, if you're just practicing, discovering things in a song for the first time versus rehearsing when you're preparing for a live performance. When you're just practicing, you can experiment all over the place. And then if you record those, you can take that into account and make any adjustments that you need. So when you do rehearse, then you're playing the best part of that song that you want to play. That's my opinion anyway. But it's like, you know, when I first started to play, it was more of the, you know, just jamming and not really paying attention to that stuff. And now, more often than not, we'll be literally rehearsing for a live show. So we want to nail it, you know. So we'll practice on our own and then rehearse together.
Tell us a little bit about your job in Portal Bosque.
Well, what I do there is just be part of the band. I mean, I love to talk about the place because it's such a wonderful idea that Matthias Wolowski and his associates have. It's a school for children that learn about music, science, history, horticulture, lots of really great real-life things. And the parents and all the other people that work there, they get to celebrate in a way one day a month when they have the jam session, because everybody gets together, and it's a really fun time for the adults that are part of that association. But my part is, it's actually funny. This is a little story. One day I went to go see the band New on Monday night, and this was May of last year. And I was, you know, really admiring this band. I mean, they're incredible the way they're conducted into doing all kinds of different things. And I was standing in the back admiring them, and I was standing next to another man doing the same thing. And I said, "Wow, this is really great, isn't it?" He goes, "Yeah, absolutely." And he told me he was starting a band, and he had this little place out in the forest where they have jam sessions. He was downplaying it. He goes, "You should come out and jam with us sometime. We need a bass player." So I did. And that was a year and a half ago. And now it's grown into a very nice restaurant and a beautiful park. So, and I'm blessed to be a part of it because I get to play music with great musicians like you and other people out there, and it's great.
That person is Victor.
Victor?
Yes.
Victor Stone?
The one for New.
Yeah. Victor Stone is not a regular player with New, but he's amazing guitarist. He's from Los Angeles. He's a master of playing funk, and he's perfect with them when they have him sit in because his rhythms go perfectly with everything they're doing. And Victor also has a jam session every Sunday called the Domingo Jam, and it's mainly for signs, the musical sign language for everybody to follow. But anybody can join in, and it's become a very successful thing. And he's been able to play with other bands in Argentina and Spain when he's been traveling. So as a part of the Santiago Vasquez groups that are out there.
Nice. Well, we did together a jam in his house. It was super cool. I can't believe he let me play a relic strat. was quite a memory. Tell us a little bit about how jamming you think help you as being a musician, meaning there are people that don't like to jam, some other people that like to jam. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, of course. My opinion is it's like relating to people, you know, because you'll play music with one group of people or another group of people, and they're all different. So you get to know people and their tendencies and their opinions and their, you know, I love it because it's like a social thing. So it's like speaking without opening your mouth. It's like a language. And one of the perfect examples is on the 13th. There's nobody really knows who's going to be there. But once everybody gets together, they have their little part of the song, and you might not even talk to that person because the music's going, but you relate to them in a different way. And you'll see somebody you never met before, and the same thing will happen. So for me, it's like jamming is where it all starts. So if you're ready to, join a group like that, it's a lot of fun. It's a tremendous amount of fun.
Nice. There is a question that I'm asking some of the guests that, I mean, one of the challenges of having a band and forming, composing music and so on is creating a group of people that work together. Let's discuss a little bit about that, maintaining the group, working with other musicians.
Well, make sure it's interesting for everybody. I've been in groups like, anybody who's played for many years where sometimes there's a real dominant person that wants things a certain way, or they wrote all the songs, you're going to play it this way, or we'll get somebody who will. And then there's other bands that, everybody is a creator, and they play their own part in molding the song from where it starts to where it's going to be eventually. And I enjoy that a lot, but there is a place for both. If you're somebody who has played for many years and you have honed your skills in a way where you can add different things to music by being more creative, then I think that's a good asset. But at times, if you don't know the music, being guided in a way is a lot better too. So, yeah, I think they're both things are important, for sure.
Nice. I noticed that you said that there are two types of persons in there. There is the one that compose sometimes, that brings all the music or most of that, and there are bands in which the three persons work together the song. You say too that there are like two different approaches, but can you discuss a little bit about each? Because I noticed that you've been on both sides in bands in the two formats.
Yes, of course, my personal experience, the band that I was in the longest, the guitar player, a man by the name of Tim Channel, is an amazing guitarist and amazing songwriter. He was like a machine. Every time we played, he'd have 2 or 3 new songs, and they'd all be intricate, different, but he left it up to the drummer and the bass player to do their own parts within what he was doing. So for that, it was incredible. But also, I mean, it's a different talent too, because people who write music or write lyrics have another talent on top of them playing the instrument, and that's something that's necessary in a band that's an original band. Somebody has to be, or multiple people have to be, that songwriter person that could write something that everybody likes to play or everybody wants to contribute to in their own way. So yeah, it's interesting. You're making me think about that, because it's like, yeah, I've been in situations where there wasn't the creative person, and it usually doesn't last very long because boredom sets in after the 3rd consecutive blues song that you're playing or whatever, because there isn't that one creative person that's going to guide everybody or stretch their playing abilities in a different direction. So it's very important, I think, if you
Yeah.
have that one person who's really the
creative
creator.
one. Nice. Well, I want to switch a little bit because you touch a subject that everybody's scared of, AI, yeah, artificial intelligence, and in context of your work, how that is affecting, for example, mixing and mastering.
There's there's a couple of things. If you have in the mixing field, if you have tracks that aren't as clean as you need them to be,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of manual work you can do, and you can go through the tracks individually and clean up parts and make sure there's
Mm-hmm.
it's as consistent and clean as possible. But now there's AI that can take an individual track and separate anything that it thinks shouldn't be on there.
I get.
So if you have a recording where you can hear the snare drum in the guitar track, for example, there are ways where you can eliminate that with AI. And it just, it figures out the guitar frequency, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and anything that is not that will not be transferred over to the new version of that track when you put it through
Mm-hmm.
the system. And there's several new ones that are out,
Mm-hmm.
and they have free versions of some
Mm-hmm.
and paid versions of some.
Mm-hmm.
And the paid versions are definitely worth it because you can put in any length of a song in the right audio format.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing something like, for example, meditation tracks that are usually at least 15 to 30 minutes long,
Mhm.
like a super long song would ever be in rock music or blues music,
Mm-hmm.
it really helps for that. Because then when you have everything clean and you put it back together,
Mm-hmm.
you'll just be happier with the end result.
Nice. Well, we are getting to the end of the interview. I want to, since we are here talking about AI, I want to ask you about AI generated music. What are your thoughts about that and those versus human music?
I think, well, I'm saying I think.
Okay.
I think that the software that's out there is incredible, the way it works. I had an example given to me by Matthias Wolowski,
Mm-hmm.
where we had a brand new song, and he put into this particular program the first 30 seconds or something like that of the song and had AI create the rest of it. And what ended up coming out of it, in a way, gave us ideas of how we should complete the song. Not the exact way or even copying the AI version, but it opened your mind to.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's like a tool.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like totally created and having albums and everything like that, I don't know. That's, to me, like, it's not really playing music anymore. It's just like, a computer program. It's different. Playing music with other people and having
Mm-hmm.
a cohesive unit is always where it's going to be at for me.
Nice.
Great tool, but doesn't
No, it's
replace
not
anything.
No. Thanks God. You wanted to play a song that you work at. We are going to play it soon. Can you tell us how the story of the song?
If there is a story to this song,
Right.
that was written by Ethan Hediot. He's a singer, songwriter. He's a DJ in Colorado,
Nice.
great guitarist as well. He's one of my oldest friends. He used to just write a lot of things, whatever would come to mind. And we were rehearsing and jamming and having beers in his garage, just coming up with different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And this one has to do with an Old West mentality and a gunfight, like a showdown, a gunfight showdown.
Okay.
And that's really what it's all about. It's like, I don't know if there's anything very specific about this song, but that's really what it's about.
But you mix it and you master it too?
Yes.
You did both too? Nice. Oh. ¿Podemos escuchar la canción del video?
Well, that was
sounds like 80s.
yeah. The bandmates were all in our mid 50s when we recorded this, so it was definitely an 80s, early 90s kind of flavor. Very cool. Thank you for playing that.
When was recorded?
It was right before the pandemic in January of 2020.
And you are the bass player too?
Yes.
Nice.
And Cameron Webb recorded it and did the initial mixes on that. And I did my work on it afterwards, and it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of parts on that song that you can bring up and put down, but all different types of filters. And I got to use Lemmy Kilmeister's bass system when I played on that whole album, so that was really cool.
Nice. Nos quedan los últimos minutos. Bueno, vamos a ir cerrando la entrevista, pasamos a español ahora. me costó el switch. Sí. Me costó un minuto. Vamos a estar todos los miércoles a las 7 con nuevos invitados de Música de Maldonado. I want to thank Charles. We are on the last minute, so I'm closing the episode. Thanks for being here. It was really nice to chat with you and discuss all the things about music.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Do you want to share someone is watching, how can contact you? Instagram, email, phone, whatever?
I'm putting it all together right now. So it's going to be Soul Studios in La Barra. And I will get that information. I'm going to do some advertising here at the Box Garden as well.
Okay.
So I'll need to talk to somebody about that as well, so I can get that together. But we're putting a waiting list together, and we'll get that together probably anytime in the next couple of weeks or sooner, so we can get people in there and start enjoying the sound vibes.
Nice. Bueno, a mí me pueden encontrar como Matthew Music en Instagram y bueno, muchas gracias.